Make sure when you do these selections, you're not selecting the top and the bottom. You're only selecting the middle 5. We're doing that so that we don't lose our string while we're doing it. So this one you're going to do your last smooth for that. Copy that one out and paste it. Then you're going to go back out. That was number 12. We're going to smooth this line one more time. You get your 13 smooth. It's a control smooth for this. To get your number 13 control smooth. You're going to copy and paste it out, and you're going to paste it 7 times. Select your middle 5. You're going to regular smooth this one 3 times. And you'll get, this is the smallest that you can get, or that I've been able to get here for a micro string. Now I'll show you what happens if you don't select, if you select more than the 5, if you select all 7 of them. It can still work, but it's going to start falling apart on you.
It's going to get shorter.
Yeah, it shortens. I'm not going to control smooth it, but it does it the same if you can control smooth it. You see, it shortens and it starts to disappear on you. And it also...
Oh, look how thin that is.
Yeah. Well, and it's really close to the same. It should be the same as that. I don't think I can do that one anymore. Yeah, I kind of lose it all together after that. Control Z it back because I want to be able to see it so I can delete it later. So that's how you do your strings here. And we use strings for flooring. These voxel, and these are voxel link strings. You can make stretch strings as well just by taking your micro voxel and pasting it whichever size that you want, and pasting it once, pasting it above itself and below itself. And basically what that does is it stretches the one in the middle. So you put one down, and then when you put one at the top and one at the bottom, you're actually stretching the one in the middle. And it then becomes a larger than voxel size string. You can see the difference between this size string and these strings. See? You can see that one is a half a voxel higher and a half a voxel lower in length when you do it like that. And you can do that and put those on your board as well, because they are also single Q space shapes. And if you only do one side as well, it'll be where you can instead of putting it above and below, you could put one down and then put it just above, and it'll only stretch it up. And it will be this type of distance here. It'll do, that type of distance would be from center out. And you put those on the board. I mean, there's different things that you can do. These are more of prime shapes, and you can do all of your little weird shapes as well when you're starting to play with them. And if you find a shape that you like and you want to keep it, then copy it to your own board. Especially if you don't remember how you made it. That's why you come up with boards that have shapes like these right here. This section comes from where someone made a shape. Not too sure. They probably weren't too sure how they made it, or found it was difficult to make and just stuck it on the board. This is Schrodinger cat's board. As I was saying though, you can use these strings. I also call them pegs when we're doing flooring and designer flooring and geometric flooring. We use them as pegs to what I call pegging the floor to make your nice little geometric shapes in your floor. And we use that because it's voxel height. It is cube space height. Thus, when you're putting it onto a cube space high floor, which is what your normal floors will generally be, like this cube space floor, it's not going to warp up or down if you put the pegs in this direction to where they either set on the top or they go through. They're not going to warp your floor up and down. Now, if you set one like this onto the floor, it's going to change they're all going to change your pattern. If you set them onto the floor or into the floor, it will change the pattern of the floor, but it's not going to warp the floor up or down. So it's the reason why I go in so much into making the shapes cube height, because I like doing floor designs. For these right here, that line of voxels, this line and this line are all cube space in height, so they can easily go into floor patterns without warping the floor up or down. Now this one, the doxel, and this one are all going to, if you put them into your floors, they're going to warp your floors. We use these a lot more often in walls, because you look at a wall, you don't necessarily mind that the wall sticks out some, especially when it starts giving your wall texture. You can use those in different ways to give your wall texture by being a little bit farther out or a little bit not so far out. Also, these are generally used in furniture. These micro strings, cube space height micro strings. Yes, peg might not be a good Google search. Now you made me forget what I'm saying. Furniture. To make regular furniture, you can use these strings. Micro strings make good regular furniture if you're putting them on to a solid floor. If you're going to build like a bookcase on a solid colored floor, it's great. The problem comes when you try to then put it onto a patterned floor like the checkerboard. You try to put it onto a patterned floor, it's not going to warp the floor up or down, but it is going to change your pattern. Because we do use these for changing patterns on your floor. When you're wanting to create a pattern on the floor, you'll use these pegs. But when you're building furniture, you don't necessarily want them to, and that's where the offsets then come in. The offsets are we were talking about over here when we were talking about the fact that these shapes don't totally reside within cube space. Offsets, none of the shape resides within the cube space in which the information is held. And so you can actually put a fully offset shape where it looks like it's on the floor, but since the cube space forly a cube space above the floor, it doesn't affect the pattern that is on the floor. And I'll go into that tomorrow. In tomorrow's class is going to be all about this board up here, this offset board that's up here. These are the doxels and strings for standard to 1.5 offset. And we'll do that tomorrow. It's a mess to learn. And I'll go into it tomorrow. Now, I was going to tell you all that I was going to show you how to hijack these boards. We are going to show you the hijacking of a board. Say you run across somebody's board. This one over here belongs to Katana J. And I don't know how to make these, but I'm wanting to sell. I'm wanting to make something that I can sell on Player Studio. And I have no clue how he made these shapes. Don't really care how he made the shapes, but I do want to use the shape in my in whatever I'm making. So we hijack them using an empty reactor.
Now, have you totally made sure that this still works now? Because they were going to try to fix it so that you couldn't do this anymore.
The
So
way
that
that
you would
I
have
do
to
it,
actually-
the way that I do it, there's no way they're going to change it. The way that
Okay.
I know the way. See, who was trying to do it? I think the way Rave was doing it, he was trying to do it just by changing one of the reactor parts out. And if you do it that way, it won't change it because the ownership is owned by the original shape. So the way I do it, you're going to have to make your own reactor box. You want to make your own empty reactor. So let's do that. I'm not going to use mine. I'm going to show you how to make one. And they're super simple because they're just prime voxels. You just put them into this reactor shape. You're going to drop your 1 prime voxel. And you're using I'm using tweak mode, so I put it up against there and I'm going to shift click to go into tweak mode and moving it over and then hitting check if I'm not holding my Q button down. It works. So you're doing this, you're making your cube. Once you get to here, you can copy it because they're now these are your shapes. These belong to you. Control C, Control V, and then you're going to line it up and go up to just like that. That is your empty reactor. Homemade. You make it yourself. It's the only way that I know of to do this. Now, I'm pretty sure that you cannot do this with Player Studio voxels. If you buy it off the Player Studio, you can't do this. Because the Player Studio, when you sell it on Player Studio, it actually quits being an actual voxel. They work more like your props do. But if somebody just if you go up to, say, Tenma's swap meet or to Lady K's swap meet and you get a copy of something that is not a Player Studio item, then you can do this. And most of the voxel boards are going to be, 99% of the voxel boards are going to be this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Kit's shape. I'm going to take this one. And I'm going to drop it into my brand new reactor. If I can remember to copy it first. And Control C. Control V, and I'm going to put it into tweak mode so I can make sure I get it right in the middle. You will want to use tweak mode. You do, because when you're dealing with, if you pick up an offset voxel, you have no clue where the center, by the yellow part, where the center of the voxel actually is. Where the cube space actually is. And it's the cube space that you have to get in the center, not the yellow thing that you see. You need to make sure that these arrows line up in the center of your reactor. And I will show you that in just a second, show you why it matters. but um,